You moved on with your life, but a part of your heart remained, exactly where it was abandoned. There is a kind of waiting that does not look like waiting at all, the kind that lives in silence, buried beneath your routines and responsibilities. You grow up, you take on roles, you learn how to function, yet a quiet part of you still stands in the same emotional place where someone once left you. That part has no sense of time. It only knows longing. Waiting is not for a specific person, not anymore. It is deeper than that. It is the hope for the love you never received, the comfort that never arrived, the presence that never showed up when you needed it most. Even now, years later, that hidden part of you remains seated in the dark, looking toward a door that never opened, listening for footsteps that never came. You can succeed, you can love, you can pretend to be whole, but the weight persists like a quiet echo underneath everything you do. It whispers during moments of loneliness, in the pauses between your breaths, in the heaviness that settles on your chest at night. You moved forward with your life, but your heart left a fragment behind. Sitting on that invisible bench of longing, the tragedy is that you didn't choose this waiting. It chose you. Art. It was born the moment you realized no one was coming to save you, to comfort you, to see you. That moment carved a hollow space inside you, a space that still expects someone to fill it. And even though you know they won't, the part of you that learned to wait has no idea how to stop. If any part of this feels familiar, stay with me. There is a reason you still carry this silent waiting. There is a reason your heart left a seat open for someone who never arrived. Together, we will uncover the truth behind the longing you've been living with all your life, and finally understand the part of you that refuses to let go. Some waiting is learned so early you mistake it for your nature. You waited for someone to notice your sadness, but they didn't. You waited for someone to ask what you needed, but they never did. You waited for love to arrive on its own, believing it would eventually find its way to you. And when it didn't, you assumed the failure was yours, not theirs. You learned to wait quietly, not by choice, but by necessity. You didn't want to burden anyone, so you swallowed your needs. You didn't want to be disappointed again, so you silenced your hopes. You didn't want to seem dramatic, so you hid your hurt. Over time, waiting became a survival strategy, a shield you wrapped around your heart to protect it from more abandonment. But the problem with this kind of waiting is that it becomes a habit. You wait instead of asking. You endure instead of expressing. You settle instead of reaching. You freeze instead of moving. The world sees calmness, patience, composure, but inside, you're still sitting on that metaphorical bench, holding a space for the presence you never received. Even now, you expect people to show up in ways they've never shown up before. Not because you're naive, but because the child in you still believes. Someone will finally arrive with the love you needed. This expectation lingers like a ghost, shaping the way you interpret silence, hesitation, and inconsistency. You keep hoping they mean something different this time. You tell yourself you're strong and independent, but your heart carries an unspoken hope. Maybe this person won't leave. Maybe someone will finally choose me. This hope is not foolish. It is a wound speaking. It is the echo of unmet needs. The residue of promises never made, but deeply longed for. And every disappointment reopens the original ache. It's not that people fail you. It's that you're still trying to heal an old injury with new faces. You're waiting for someone today to fix what someone yesterday broke. But no one can rewrite a memory they were never part of. And so you keep waiting, not for a person, but for the fulfillment of an emotional promise that never arrived. One of the deepest pains is realizing you were never chosen. In the moments that mattered, maybe no one picked you for comfort, for reassurance, for protection. Maybe the people you needed most were too distracted, too wounded, or too absent to see you. And so your heart learned the quiet ache of being an option, never the priority. This experience plants a belief so subtle you barely notice it. I am not worth choosing. You carry this belief into friendships, relationships, work, every place where you hope to be seen, and even when someone offers you closeness. The old wound whispers louder. Don't trust it. They won't stay. The fear of abandonment becomes stronger than the desire for connection. You wait to be chosen because your heart never learned how to take up space. You wait to be loved because your childhood taught you that love arrives only on rare occasions. And because you were once left behind, a part of you expects to be left again. So you keep one foot planted in the past, waiting for someone who never came, hesitant to believe anyone ever will. The waiting becomes internal. You carry it like an emotional hollow, a space shaped exactly like the love you didn't receive. You may not think about it consciously, but it shapes your reactions, your fears, your desires, the way you interpret affection, and the way you brace for loss. Some people try to fill this emptiness with achievement, others with relationships, others with perfection or caretaking or silence. But no matter what you pour into it, the space remains, because it was never meant to be filled by anything other than the care you should have received when you were small and scared and waiting at a door that never opened. This is why you feel a strange sadness during quiet moments, why nights feel heavier than days, why certain words can make your chest tighten. The empty space listens, it remembers, and it waits, not for a person, but for healing, the kind that finally acknowledges the ache you've been carrying since the beginning. Even after everything, a part of you still hopes, not because you're weak, but because you were never taught how to stop. Hope is the last remaining piece of the child who waited too long. It sits beside you on that invisible bench, believing that one day someone will arrive with the understanding, love, or apology you deserved. This hope shows up in how quickly you forgive, how deeply you attach, how quietly you ache when promises are delayed. You're not expecting miracles, you're expecting acknowledgement. You're waiting for someone to notice your effort, to reassure your worth, to offer what the world once withheld from you. But hope without closure becomes a prison. It keeps you emotionally living in the past, measuring new people against old wounds, searching for healing in places that cannot give it. The part of you that still hopes is not foolish. It is wounded, and it is waiting to be freed, not by another person, but by you. Healing begins the moment you realize no one is coming, not because you're unworthy, but because the person you needed then cannot arrive now. The door you waited beside existed in a different chapter of your life, and the one who never came belongs to a story you've already lived. You free yourself when you finally step away from that memory, taking the child within you by the hand back. You stop waiting not by force, but by compassion. You tell your younger self, I'm here now. You give them the comfort they were denied, the presence they longed for, the love that never arrived. This is how the waiting ends, not through someone else's arrival, but through your own. You become the person who finally shows up, bare. There will always be a quiet ache where the waiting once lived, but it will no longer define you. You learn to sit on a different bench, one that faces the future instead of the past. And for the first time, the night feels less like abandonment and more like possibility. If this spoke to the part of you that still waits for someone who never came, stay close. There are pieces of your heart that deserve to be understood, not dismissed. And if you want to keep healing the wounds you've carried alone, come back. We will walk with you through every truth your heart is finally ready to face.